Welcome back to Bible Quizzes. We have another 80 questions today, so let's get started. 1. What was the name of the king of Salem who blessed Abram and is described as a priest of God Most High? Abimelech, Adonizedek, Melchizedek, or Jethro? Melchizedek, Genesis 14:18. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High. 2. In the book of Judges, which judge made a rash vow involving his daughter? Gideon, Jephthah, Samson, or Ehud? Jephthah, Judges 11:30-31-34. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord, if you give the Ammonites into my hands, whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me when I return in triumph from the Ammonites will be the Lord's. 3. Which prophet was commanded to marry a prostitute as a symbolic act of God's relationship with Israel? Hosea, Isaiah, Ezekiel, or Amos? Hosea. Hosea 1:2. When the Lord began to speak through Hosea, the Lord said to him, Go marry a promiscuous woman and have children with her, for like an adulterous wife this land is guilty of unfaithfulness to the Lord. 4. In what language were the mysterious words Mene Mene Tekel Parsin written on the wall in Daniel? Hebrew, Aramaic, Greek, or Persian? Aramaic. Daniel 5:25. This is the inscription that was written, Mene Mene Tekel Parsin. 5. Which king of Judah was afflicted with leprosy for entering the temple to burn incense? Uzziah, Asa, Hezekiah, or Manasseh? Uzziah, 2 Chronicles 26:19. Uzziah, who had a censer in his hand ready to burn incense, became angry. While he was raging at the priests in their presence before the incense altar in the Lord's temple, leprosy broke out on his forehead. 6. What was the name of Moses' second son? Gershom, Jethro, Eleazar, or Eliezer? Eliezer. Exodus 18:4. And the other was named Eliezer, for he said, My father's God was my helper. He saved me from the sword of Pharaoh. 7. Which prophet saw a vision of a flying scroll? Ezekiel, Zechariah, Jeremiah, or Amos? Zechariah 5:1. I looked again, and there before me was a flying scroll. 8. Which prophet shaved his head and beard as a symbolic act commanded by God? Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, or Jonah? Ezekiel 5:1. Now, son of man, take a sharp sword and use it as a barber's razor to shave your head and your beard. Then take a set of scales and divide up the hair. 9. What was the name of the queen who refused King Xerxes' request to appear before him? Esther, Vashti, Zeresh, or Athaliah? Vashti, Esther 1:12. But when the attendants delivered the king's command, Queen Vashti refused to come. Then the king became furious and burned with anger. 10. What was the name of the river where Naaman was instructed to wash to be healed of leprosy? Euphrates, Tigris, Jordan, or Arnon? Jordan. 2 Kings 5:10. Elisha sent a messenger to say to him, Go wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored and you'll be cleansed. 11. Which city did God tell Jonah to go and preach against, but Jonah fled instead? Babylon, Sidon, Tarshish, or Nineveh? Nineveh. Jonah 1, 2-3. Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it because its wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish. 12. Who hid 2 Israelite spies under stalks of flax on a roof? Deborah, Miriam, Rahab, or Jael? Rahab. Joshua 2:6. But she had taken them up to the roof and hidden them under the stalks of flax she had laid out on the roof. 13. Who was the first person in the Bible recorded as getting drunk? Noah, David, Lot, or Aaron? Noah. Genesis 9:20-21. Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. When he drank some of its wine, he became drunk and lay uncovered inside his tent. 14. What was the name of the prophet who confronted David about his sin with Bathsheba? Gad, Nathan, Samuel, or Ahijah? Nathan. 2 Samuel 12:7. Then Nathan said to David, "You are the man. This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I anointed you king over Israel, and I delivered you from the hand of Saul." 15. Which king built a fleet of ships at Ezion-Geber? Solomon, Rehoboam, David, or Jehoshaphat? Solomon. 1 Kings 9:26. King Solomon also built ships at Ezion-Geber, which is near Elath and Edom, on the shore of the Red Sea. 16. What was the name of the Babylonian chief official who gave new names to Daniel and his friends? Ashpenaz, Zebuzaradan, Arioch, or Belshazzar? Ashpenaz. Daniel 1:7. The chief official gave them new names to Daniel, the name Belteshazzar to Hananiah, Shadrach to Mishael, Meshach, and Azariah, Abednego. 17. Which king consulted the witch of Endor to summon the spirit of Samuel? David, Solomon, Saul, or Jeroboam? Saul. 1 Samuel 28:7. Saul then said to his attendants, "Find me a woman who is a medium, so I may go and inquire of her." "There is one in Endor," they said. 18. What was the punishment for Miriam when she opposed Moses' leadership? She was struck with leprosy. Numbers 12:10. When the cloud lifted from above the tent, Miriam's skin was leprous. It became as white as snow. Aaron turned toward her and saw that she had a defiling skin disease. 19. What was the name of the mountain where Elijah challenged the prophets of Baal? Sinai, Carmel, Nebo, or Tabor? Carmel. 1 Kings 18:19. Now summon the people from all over Israel to meet me on Mount Carmel, and bring the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah who eat at Jezebel's table. 20. What was the name of the priest who fell backward off his chair and died upon hearing the ark's capture? Hophni, Eli, Phinehas, or Zadok? Eli. 1 Samuel 4:18. When he mentioned the ark of God, Eli fell backward off his chair by the side of the gate. His neck was broken, and he died, for he was an old man, and he was heavy. He had led Israel 40 years. 21. What was the total number of men who lapped water with their hands and to their mouths in Gideon's army? 300, 3,000, 1,000, or 10,000? 300. Judges 7:6. 300 of them drank from cupped hands, lapping like dogs. All the rest got down on their knees to drink. 22. What did God send as food for the Israelites in the wilderness, calling it bread from heaven? Quail, figs, manna, or honey? Manna. Exodus 16:4. Then the Lord said to Moses, I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way I'll test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. 23. Who was the first murderer mentioned in the Bible? Cain, Lamech, Abel, or Esau? Cain, Genesis 4:8. Now Cain said to his brother Abel, let's go out to the field. While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. 24. Who was stoned to death for taking items from Jericho that were under the ban? Korah, Achan, Zimri, or Abiram? Achan, Joshua 7:25. Joshua said, why have you brought this trouble on us? The Lord will bring trouble on you today. Then all Israel stoned him, and after they had stoned the rest, they burned them. 25. Who interpreted King Nebuchadnezzar's dream of a great statue? Daniel, Shadrach, Ezekiel, or Jeremiah? Daniel. Daniel 2:31-32. Your Majesty looked, and there before you stood a large statue, an enormous, dazzling statue, awesome in appearance. The head of the statue was made of pure gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze. 26. Who was the Moabite woman who became the great-grandmother of King David? Orpah, Tamar, Naomi, or Ruth? Ruth 4:17. The woman living there said, Naomi has a son, and they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. 27. What was the name of the man who built a gallows 50 cubits high for Mordecai? Bagos, Zeresh, Xerxes, or Haman? Haman. Esther 5:14. His wife Zeresh and all his friends said to him, have a pole set up reaching to a height of 50 cubits, and ask the king in the morning to have Mordecai impaled on it. Then go with the king to the banquet and enjoy yourself. 28. Who was the youngest son of Jesse chosen by God to be king of Israel? Abinadab, Eliab, David, or Shema? David. 1 Samuel 16:11-12. So he asked Jesse, are these all the sons you have? There is still the youngest, Jesse answered. He is tending the sheep. Samuel said, send for him. We will not sit down until he arrives. 29. What did the Queen of Sheba bring as gifts when she visited King Solomon? Gold, spices, and precious stones. 1 Kings 10:10. And she gave the king 120 talents of gold, large quantities of spices, and precious stones. Never again were so many spices brought in as those the Queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. 30. What was the name of the king of Israel who was married to Jezebel? Ahab, Omri, Jeroboam, or Jehu? Ahab, 1 Kings 16:31, he not only considered it trivial to commit the sins of Jeroboam son of Nebat, but he also married Jezebel, daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians, and began to serve Baal and worship him. 31. Who deceived his father by wearing goat skins on his arms to receive a blessing? Cain, Jacob, Esau, or Joseph? Jacob, Genesis 27:16-17. She also covered his hands and the smooth part of his neck with goat skins. Then she handed to her son Jacob the tasty food and the bread she had made. 32. Which prophet saw a vision of 4 living creatures, each with 4 faces and 4 wings? Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, or Zechariah? Ezekiel. Ezekiel 1:5-6. And in the fire was what looked like 4 living creatures. In appearance, their form was human, but each of them had 4 faces and 4 wings. 33. What was the name of the man who carried firewood for his own sacrifice before being spared by God? Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, or Esau? Isaac. Genesis 22:6. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife, as the 2 of them went on together. 34. What was the name of the man who took Ruth as his wife, redeeming her and Naomi's family line? Mahlon, Elimelech, Boaz, or Kilian? Boaz, Ruth 4:13. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife when he made love to her. The Lord enabled her to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. 35. Who was the first high priest of Israel? Moses, Eleazar, Aaron, or Phinehas? Aaron, Exodus 28:1. Have Aaron your brother brought to you from among the Israelites, along with his sons Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar, so they may serve me as priests. 36. What was the name of the Canaanite woman who killed Sisera by driving a tent peg through his head? Deborah, Rahab, Jael, or Tamar? Jael. Judges 4:21. But Jael, Heber's wife, picked up a tent peg and a hammer and went quietly to him while he lay fast asleep, exhausted. She drove the peg through his temple into the ground, and he died. 37. Who was the prophet that performed a miracle by making an iron axe head float? Elijah, Elisha, Isaiah, or Jeremiah? Elisha, 2 Kings 6:6. The man of God asked, "Where did it fall?" When he showed him the place, Elisha cut a stick and threw it there and made the iron float. 38. What instrument did David play to soothe King Saul? Harp, flute, lyre, or trumpet? Lyre. 1 Samuel 16:23. Whenever the Spirit from God came on Saul, David would take up his lyre and play. Then relief would come to Saul. He would feel better, and the evil spirit would leave him. 39. Which Old Testament figure was described as a mighty hunter before the Lord? Nimrod, Ishmael, Esau, or Lamech? Nimrod. Genesis 10:9. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. That is why it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. 40. What did King Solomon ask God for in a dream at Gibeon? A long life, wisdom, riches, or victory? Wisdom. 1 Kings 3:9. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours? 41. What sign did God give to confirm his covenant with Noah? A star, rainbow, altar, or dove? A rainbow. Genesis 9:13. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. 42. What was the name of the tower that humans attempted to build to reach the heavens? Bethel, Shinar, Babel, or unnamed? Babel. Genesis 11:4-5. Then they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth. 43. What was the name of the brook where David chose 5 smooth stones before fighting Goliath? Kidron, Besor, Kishon, or Elah? Elah. 1 Samuel 17:40. Then he took a staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag, and with his sling in his hand approached the Philistine. 44. Which city's walls fell down after the Israelites marched around them for 7 days? Ai, Bethel, Jericho, or Hebron? Jericho. Joshua 6:20. When the trumpet sounded, the army shouted, and at the sound of the trumpet, when the men gave a loud shout, the wall collapsed. So everyone charged straight in, and they took the city. 45. What did King Hezekiah do with the bronze serpent Moses had made? He destroyed it. 2 Kings 18:4. He removed the high places, smashed the sacred stones, and cut down the Asherah poles. He broke into pieces the bronze snake Moses had made, for up to that time the Israelites had been burning incense to it. 46. What was the name of Abraham's second wife, whom he married after Sarah's death? Hagar, Rebekah, Milcah, or Keturah? Keturah. Genesis 25:1. Abraham had taken another wife, whose name was Keturah. 47. Who was the proconsul of Cyprus who was converted after Paul struck Elymas the sorcerer with blindness? Jonah, Micah, Nahum, or Habakkuk? Jonah. Jonah 1:2-3. Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish. 48. What Philistine goddess was associated with the temple where Samson died? Ashtoreth, Baal, Dagon, or Chemosh? Dagon. Judges 16:23. Now the rulers of the Philistines assembled to offer a great sacrifice to Dagon their god and to celebrate, saying, Our God has delivered Samson our enemy into our hands. 49. Who killed a lion with his bare hands but did not tell his parents about it? Samson, David, Benaiah, or Gideon? Samson. Judges 14:6. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him, so that he tore the lion apart with his bare hands, as he might have torn a young goat. But he told neither his father nor his mother what he had done. 50. Who was the mother of Moses? Jochebed, Miriam, Hannah, or Zipporah? Jochebed. Exodus 6:20, Amram married his father's sister Jochebed, who bore him Aaron and Moses. Amram lived 137 years. 51, who was the firstborn son of Isaac? Jacob, Esau, Reuben, or Ishmael? Esau. Genesis 25:25, the first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment, so they named him Esau. 52. What animal spoke to Balaam on his journey to curse Israel? A donkey, a lion, sheep, or unnamed? A donkey. Numbers 22:28. Then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth, and it said to Balaam, "What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times?" 53. What's the name of the king who ordered all male Hebrew infants to be killed in Egypt? Pharaoh, Xerxes, Darius, or Barabbas? Pharaoh. Exodus 1:22. Then Pharaoh gave this order to all his people: every Hebrew boy that is born you must throw into the Nile, but let every girl live. 54. What did the Israelites place in the Ark of the Covenant? The 10 Commandments, Aaron's staff, and manna. Hebrews 9:4. This ark contained the gold jar of manna, Aaron's staff that had budded, and the stone tablets of the covenant. 55. Which Old Testament figure asked God to lengthen the days so he could win a battle? Moses, David, Joshua, or Gideon? Joshua. Joshua 10:13. So the sun stood still and the moon stopped, till the nation avenged itself on its enemies, as it is written in the book of Jashar. The sun stopped in the middle of the sky and delayed going down about a full day. 56. Who anointed Solomon as king of Israel? Cornelius, Zadok, Sergius, or unnamed? Zadok. 1 Kings 1:39. Zadok the priest took the horn of oil from the sacred tent and anointed Solomon. Then they sounded the trumpet, and all the people shouted, "Long live King Solomon." 57. Which prophet used a potter's jar to symbolize God's judgment on Judah? Ezekiel, Jeremiah, Felix, or unnamed? Jeremiah. Jeremiah 19:1-2. This is what the Lord says: Go and buy a clay jar from a potter, take along some of the elders of the people and of the priests, and go out to the valley of Ben Hinnom, near the entrance of the potsherd gate. 58. What did God ask Ezekiel to eat as a symbol of consuming his words? Manna, scroll, fig, or loaf of bread? Scroll. Ezekiel 3:1. And he said to me, Son of man, eat what is before you, eat the scroll, then go and speak to the people of Israel. 59. Which tribe of Israel received no inheritance of land but was given cities and offerings instead? Benjamin, Levi, Naphtali, or Simeon? Levi. Numbers 18:20-21. The Lord said to Aaron, You'll have no inheritance in their land, nor will you have any share among them. I am your share and your inheritance among the Israelites. 60. What did Gideon use to confirm God's calling to save Israel? A fleece, a clay jar, staff, or unnamed? A fleece. Judges 6:37. Look, I'll place a wool fleece on the threshing floor. If there is dew only on the fleece and all the ground is dry, then I'll know that you'll save Israel by my hand, as you said. 61. Who was the father of King Saul? Jesse, Kish, Ner, or Abiel? Kish. 1 Samuel 9, 1-2. There was a Benjamite, a man of standing, whose name was Kish, son of Abiel, the son of Zerar, the son of Bechorath, the son of Aphiah of Benjamin. Kish had a son named Saul, as handsome a young man as. 62. What prophet prophesied the birth of the Messiah in Bethlehem? Micah, Isaiah, Jeremiah, or Zechariah? Micah 5:2. But you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel, whose origins are from of old, from ancient times. 63. What did Elisha use to make an axe head float in the water? A stick, stone, salt, or his cloak? Stick. 2 Kings 6:6. The man of God asked, where did it fall? When he showed him the place, Elisha cut a stick and threw it there and made the iron float. 64. What did God send to feed Elijah during a drought? Ravens, quails, angels, or a widow? Ravens. 1 Kings 17:4. You will drink from the brook, and I have directed the ravens to supply you with food there. 65. Which Old Testament character is said to have lived 969 years? Adam, Jared, Noah, or Methuselah? Methuselah. Genesis 5:27. Altogether, Methuselah lived a total of 969 years, and then he died. 66. What was the name of the man who offered his daughters to the men of Sodom to protect the angels? Noah, Lot, Abram, or Hagar? Lot. Genesis 19:8. Look, I have 2 daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do what you like with them. But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof. 67. Who was the first person to be killed in the Bible? Abel, Abel's son, Cain, or unnamed? Abel. Genesis 4:8. Cain said to Abel, let's go out to the field. And while they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. 68. Who was the first judge of Israel? Deborah, Barak, Pilate, or Othniel? Othniel. Judges 3:9-10. But when they cried out to the Lord, he raised up from them a deliverer, Othniel son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, who saved them. The Spirit of the Lord came on him, so that he became Israel's judge and went to war. 69. Which king of Israel had 700 wives and 300 concubines? Silas, Solomon, David, or Jeroboam? Solomon. 1 Kings 11:3. He had 700 wives of royal birth and 300 concubines, and his wives led him astray. 70. Who was a prophet that confronted King David over his son with Bathsheba and Uriah? Nathan, Gad, Samuel, or Amos? Nathan. 2 Samuel 12:7. Then Nathan said to David, you're the man. This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I anointed you king over Israel, and I delivered you from the hand of Saul. 71. What was the name of the city where the Israelites crossed the Jordan River to enter the Promised Land? Ai, Gilgal, Bethel, or Thomas? Gilgal. Joshua 4:19. On the 10th day of the first month, the people went up from the Jordan and camped at Gilgal on the eastern border of Jericho. 72. Which prophet prophesied the fall of Nineveh, the capital of Assyria? Hosea, Amos, Nahum, or Zephaniah? Nahum. Nahum 1:1-2. A prophecy concerning Nineveh. The book of the vision of Nahum and the Elkoshite. The Lord is a jealous and avenging God. The Lord takes vengeance and is filled with wrath. 73. Which judge of Israel killed 600 Philistines with an ox goad? Samson, Jairus, Ehud, or Shamgar? Samson. Judges 3:31. After Ehud came Shamgar son of Anath, who struck down 600 Philistines with an ox goad. He too saved Israel. 74. Which Old Testament figure was known for his great patience during intense suffering? David, Jonah, Job, or unnamed? Job. Job 1:20-22. At this, Job got up and tore his robe and shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground in worship and said, Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. 75. Which Old Testament king had his name changed to Belshazzar by the Babylonians? Jehoiakim, Daniel, Zedekiah, or Carmel? Jehoiakim. Daniel 1:7. The chief official gave them new names. To Daniel the name Belteshazzar, to Hananiah Shadrach, to Mishael Meshach, and to Azariah Abednego. 76. What was the name of the giant slain by David with a sling and a stone? Goliath, Saul, Og, or Lydia? Goliath. 1 Samuel 17:49. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell face down on the ground. 77. What did God command Noah to build in preparation for the great flood? A boat, temple, tower, or altar? Boat. Genesis 6:14. So make yourself an ark of cypress wood, make rooms in it, and coat it with pitch inside and out. 78. Which prophet book contains a famous suffering servant passage that Christians believe points to Jesus? Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, or Daniel? Isaiah 53:3-5. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Like one from whom people hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him in low esteem. 79. Which Old Testament character was the first to be called a prophet in the Bible? Samuel, Moses, Elijah, or Abraham? Moses. Deuteronomy 34:10. Since then, no prophet has risen in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. 80. Which Old Testament verse contains the command, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself"? Leviticus 19:18, Exodus 20:12, Isaiah 61:2, or Leviticus 17:18. Leviticus 19:18. Do not seek revenge or bear a grudge against anyone among your people, but love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. And that's all our questions today. Put your score down below and share this with your friends and family, and we'll see you in the next one.